On May 16th, 2025, I woke up and was ready to get into my graduation gown for the day of celebration of Villanova's graduation ceremony. My family and friends came from pretty much across the country to see me walk across the stage and receive my diploma.
Michael, Sean, Matthias.
Yeah, Michael!
I was really on top of the world, super excited to finally have the diploma that shows my hard work over those 4 years. I was super excited to apply those skills to the job market, to an employer, and finally be an independent adult. Flash forward a couple months into the job search, it's been a little demoralizing. The job market has been very tough, especially for the new grads. I have been on my job search since November 2024. I've been applying anywhere and everywhere, and it has been a little difficult to even get to the initial interviews that I want to get to.
The job market is kind of trash right now. I mean, it's really difficult. It's really difficult for people who have many years of experience. So it's going to be difficult for college kids.
The rise of youth unemployment is worrisome. For the individual worker, we can see that graduating in a recession leaves long-lasting scars for decades after.
These workers are a vital part of the labor market. And if they're having a hard time, that means that the economy could have a hard time.
For the broader economy, these youth workers might be early indicators that the overall economy is slowing down or maybe even heading towards a recession.
For the first time in modern history, a bachelor degree is no longer a reliable path to professional employment.
You know, there was a time when we were told in the 90s, early 2000s, that the only thing that you needed to do was go to college and get a bachelor's degree. Right. And then in some cases, an associate's degree doing 2 years in college was, good. And a bachelor's degree was great. And if you did anything more than a bachelor's, you went to and got a master's or, obviously a PhD, you was going to be, the best in the market. What happened was everybody went to college. Right. And not just everybody went to college, but everybody went to college for a lot of different studies and fields, right? Not just business, not just, computer science, not just marketing, math, etc. It was, cosmetology. It was, social work. It's general studies. It's psychology. It's so many different things that people, kids and young adults went to college for, to where now, having a bachelor's degree is not as significant as it used to be. Right. So it's tough out here right now where college is starting to not be something that kids want to do because they see it. They see the student loan debt from their parents. They see how a lot of people, have degrees in certain fields but can't get a job in their field. I know a family member of mine that went to school for psychology, got a psychology degree, but because he did not specialize in a specific, aspect of psychology, he just has a broad psychology degree. He was never even able to find a job within his field ever. Right. And, he's successfully doing other things, but the degree specifically was not something that actually benefited him. So there's so many, issues here, right? Student loans, getting in debt, hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s of debt for you to not just not be able to work in your field, but to also come out of college and not be able to find a job while also not getting paid the amount that you thought that you're going to get paid by taking on that type of field. So, college as a whole right now is starting to become a big issue. And this is just one of those examples of how it can affect someone in a negative way.
If you look at the overall labor market, it's still doing strong. Unemployment rates in general are still fairly low. But then when you zoom in on the young workers, they seem to be struggling.
The unemployment rate among young U.S. workers aged 16 to 24 stood at 10.4% in September. It's generally been trending upward since April 2023, when it dipped to the lowest point since the pandemic.
And in particular, there's been a worrisome rise in unemployment rates among recent college graduates. Usually we think of those as being some of the safest workers in our economy, but that pattern seems to be flipping right now.
I think that is because two factors. One is the supply of workers with a bachelor's degree is increasing, but at the same time, partly because of AI, the demand for workers with a bachelor's degree is not increasing anymore. So we have a glut of people with a bachelor's degree. Their wage growth is growing more slowly, and with AI continuing to automate more and more jobs, I expect that the trend to continue.
Artificial intelligence has allowed some corporate giants to hire fewer workers, and some have even begun shrinking their workforces as they integrate more automation. Goldman Sachs says it could displace 6 to 7% of the US workforce over the next decade. Young workers are feeling AI's impact the most. A Stanford study finds that since 2022, unemployment for 22 to 25-year-olds in highly AI-exposed jobs has dropped 13%, while older workers and those in less exposed roles remain steady or growing.
See, what we need to see, we're going to unpack this AI and the workforce thing in a second later. But it's so broad based at this point. I've been saying this for months now, right? AI is going to take jobs, and it's already started, right? We have seen Amazon say they're going to cut 500,000 jobs over the next couple of years, right? We've seen Microsoft cut jobs. We've seen companies like Salesforce. We've seen, other businesses that basically has come out and said, we don't need the amount of people working for us. We want to be more efficient, right? We want to then help our investors by being, from our cash flow perspective, as well as revenue and growth, be more from our, cap table perspective, be more efficient when it comes to our payroll. If you got 100,000 employees, but you got artificial intelligence now that can cut 10% of that payroll, why not do it? Right. So the job market as a whole is being significantly impacted by artificial intelligence and technology, to where now you don't need the amount of people working for your business, because you have what I would call your executive assistant that can assist you. You have agents now that are doing tasks for you, like emails and things like that, as well as helping you with marketing. And ChatGPT is giving you answers on so many different things, giving you ideas. I use it on a daily basis when it comes to my investing in real estate and the stock market. So why would a business not look at it from a business perspective and say, hey, I don't need these many people when I can get, an AI agent to do it for me? Data center workers, if you answer on a phone for customer service, it's over with. Your job is over, right? I'm using Canva for different things, and now they have these AI generated tools to where I don't even need, to outsource when it comes to my videos or my thumbnails or my titles, my description, hashtags. It's so many things now that is changing the game across the board when it comes to everything. So yeah, we got issues with bachelor's degrees and college degrees. We got issues with unemployment for our youth, because all of these things happen at the same time. The job market is changing, and this is the conversation. The job market is changing, and technology is also getting more advanced at the same time. Businesses are understanding they don't need these many people working for them. And as well as employers now look for experience as much as anything, compared to in the past where your piece of paper college degree was something that was weighted high. Now experience is weighted significantly higher than it used to be, right? So right now we're in a tough space, and you could say a recession is coming, et cetera. Recession doesn't help this. It doesn't help the unemployment. It actually makes it worse, right? If we're in a recession and more people are unemployed, that's not going to help the job market, So I think that all in all, we need to be thinking ahead and understanding, especially me as a father and my children, how am I going to propel my children forward, and what opportunities out here that we could take advantage of that maybe the job market is not currently benefiting from, but will ultimately in the future. And we'll get into that in a second also.
I think AI and machine learning is absolutely taking entry-level careers from new graduates like myself. From a business standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. You get something that can produce results a lot quicker. I really can't blame employers for making those steps, in my mind, the right direction to save money, cut costs. But it's a little frustrating from my standpoint because I'm looking for a full-time career somewhere to really put my skills to work.
Especially for larger corporations that are trying to go through AI transformation. Some of it could be tied to AI from a perspective of they're trying to let go of people in other departments so that they can invest more in AI. But at the same time, I think that what's also happening is the AI systems that can write code, especially at junior level, has gotten really good. And because of that, we are already seeing, especially in tech companies, there's the need for a number of junior engineers has gotten lower.
The Federal Reserve has also taken notice.
You see a significant number of companies either announcing that they are not going to be doing much hiring or actually doing layoffs. Much of the time they're talking about AI and what it can do. So we're watching that very carefully.
But there is another element here, which is more and more young people are going to college, and at a much higher rate than the baby boomers who are now retiring. So what's happening is that the workforce is becoming more and more educated over time. And perhaps to the degree that we have a glut of college grads,
AI might be having a little bit of impact. But I think right now, what's really driving a lot of this youth unemployment is the fact that businesses just in general are not bringing on new workers. And so whether you're unemployed or whether you're trying to get in the labor market for the first time, right now is a really difficult time to find a job.
Just a few years ago, many companies, especially tech firms, went on a hiring spree during the pandemic era. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, Amazon's workforce ballooned to 1.6 million employees globally in 2021. By 2024, the count had shrunk to 1.5 million, and 2025 is no stranger to layoffs.
Amazon saying this morning it's going to lay off about 14,000 corporate employees as it restructures for the AI era, marking the latest move in a multi-year effort to streamline operations and shift resources toward its biggest bets, including generative AI.
Experts are divided on whether COVID-19 hiring sprees are behind the current layoffs.
Overhiring they did in the COVID era when they didn't actually need to. The results of that are being seen now. So correlation doesn't imply causation. Like, it's not because of AI that people are losing jobs. In fact, because of AI, we see a lot more empowerment in people. Like, small business owners are able to take advantage of AI and build amazing companies.
we should probably not use this argument much anymore. It's been a long time. I think if there was overhiring, it's already been adjusted in 23, 24. We are now November 25. I think it's no longer a big impact. But I would.
Well, so the tricky part is like we got to understand what business and how the how business works when it comes to cycles, right? So they say that Amazon overhired in the COVID, the COVID timeline, but that's not necessarily true, right? Because you got to remember that during COVID, we were in the house, basically, in certain states, we were told to stay inside. People were not going outside. The people wasn't going shopping. Going to the grocery stores was crazy. Trying to go, getting quarantined and doing a whole bunch of stuff during that timeline was pretty hectic. So what people tended to do was order, food shop online, which obviously the number one online retailer in the world is Amazon. So Amazon took a huge, significant business gap up due to the fact that COVID provided an opportunity for people to be able to shop significantly more online than they would do normally if everything was open. So because of that, Amazon was able to expand, and they had to hire more people to be able to, meet the demand out there when it comes to, their business. So sure, they raised their employee number, they raised their payroll to combat the demand and to ensure that they can continue to grow and continue to expand into a dominant, as dominant as they are now when it comes to our convenience, when it comes to 2-day, deliveries to your house, Amazon Prime, when it comes to AWS and building out the technology and the new AI infrastructure when it comes to that side of their business. They've had to do this over the last few years, but now that they've built out this giant machine, they are at a point now where they are efficient. They can be efficient enough to cut costs, to lower labor costs, and ultimately then raise their margins when it comes to their profits, so that investors and ultimately the business as a whole becomes better for an investment perspective. So as someone that has invested in Amazon, I understand how Amazon works, and also how the business works when it comes to the growth, the revenue, and how they're trying to be more efficient, right? This is why you see robotics now. We see in these warehouses, we're going to have less humans doing this work. We're going to have more robots that's going to be moving packages and moving things around. The business becoming more affordable from a margin profit perspective, right? So when some people say, "Oh, Amazon overhired," that's not necessarily true. They did what they needed in that cycle, in that moment, in that season, for them to then can grow their business, continuing to get bigger, be more efficient, be more convenient for the customer. And now that they're at this place where they have this infrastructure built out, they can now cut human capital and ultimately make it more efficient for the business and still be the great company that they are.
Say the period of strong labor shortages that we had in 21, 22, 23, I think it forced companies, even without AI or not taking AI out of the story here, it just forced companies, this severe labor shortage, to learn how to do things with fewer people. And that may be another factor that is impacting the labor market conditions now.
Not only are young workers finding it difficult to enter the job market, but the young professional workforce is also shrinking. A recent study by compensation platform Pave finds that between January 2023 and July 2025, the number of young workers at large public technology companies fell by more than half. Private technology companies also saw a decline.
The impact that this rising youth unemployment rate could have, you start playing this out over the course of years, and you say, if these workers have a hard time getting into jobs now, that impacts spending, right? That impacts them going out, buying things. That also impacts like their earning capabilities, money going into taxes, which ultimately impacts government spending as well, right? And so you start to add these things together, and it really can lead to further widening in income inequality.
Economic inequality in the U.S. is getting worse. The new Oxfam report shows that between 1989 and 2022, the top 1% gained about 101 times more wealth than the median household.
We will see a much higher inequality. It's a problem today, and it will be an even bigger problem in the future. It will be a problem that will have political consequences. I think what will eventually happen is that there will be growing demand for income redistribution.
If you have increasing unemployment rates, especially among young workers, it might leave some with being dissatisfied with the current economy and political climate that could have some implications for, in general, the political debate.
And so we need to really be thinking about, how do we make sure that we're taking care of this right now, because it could have big spending, big economic implications down the road.
Well, this is the part where I disagree. I don't think we need to do much of anything. I think the country and I think the space has to make the adjustment, right? We need to shift our thought process and shift our thinking away from what was told to us 20 years ago and how we need to move in that timeline, right? So there was a time where the United States and agriculture, as well as the industry and the warehousing and the plants and the all of the build out things back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s where there were jobs available for the average worker, to just work in a plant, to work in a warehouse, to be hands-on and making things like that. That's gone. But at one time it was here, and then we transitioned. Right now it's everyone go to college and everyone get a college degree, and you'll get a great job right out of college. That's no longer the case anymore. So how do we adjust? Right? Moving forward, if we look at artificial intelligence, we look at quantum computing, we look at technology, we look at math, and we start to see, okay, what is the next 20 years look like long term when it comes to how the United States functions, what industries will continue to grow, and what do we need, right? We look at one thing, infrastructure. We know that artificial intelligence takes a lot of energy, takes a lot of electricity, natural gas. It needs a lot of data centers. And we are in the current space now where we're trying to see how we can figure all of these things out. So if I am a young adult at this point, I'm going to make an adjustment. And my children, for example, we need to start thinking about trades, electricity, gas, natural gas, HVAC, and everything that has to do with the build out of infrastructure in this country. That is the next wave when it comes to how we can take advantage of the current space we are in, but ultimately where we're going as a country. Right? There are always going to be people that need accountants, and people that need different fields and business, etc. But I would argue that I can go on AI right now and they can give me a spreadsheet breakdown in 3 seconds for something that I'm gonna have to pay somebody $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year to do the same report. If I can give AI a level of information and say, hey, break this information down into an outline setting, I need to send in an Excel spreadsheet document with this, and this, and it can give me that in 5 seconds, in 10 seconds. Why am I going to pay somebody $50,000 and have to pay for your medical insurance and have to give you a 401k and have to do all of these things as an employer when I can just get an AI agent to do it for me in a much more efficient and less time? It don't make sense. Right? And we have to get to a place where we accept the fact that this is reality. This is real life, right? I don't need you to be my executive, my assistant. I'm paying you a salary when my assistant is my artificial intelligence buddy right here, right next to me. Right? So we need to make the adjustment within this country. We need to continue to build out the AI space as we continue to fight for this AI dominance with China. But we also got to take a look at our infrastructure in this country. How can we then take advantage of that when it comes to our children, our young adults that can, build businesses, become entrepreneurs, get into the trades, become journeyman electricians and journeyman and become an HVAC company and build out natural gas and power in this country in a way that we've never seen before. That is the space that we need to jump into, and we really need to implore our young people to get into, because the business management, accounting degrees, I mean, to be completely honest, it's going away, right? Computer science is a challenge because, sure, you want to be a coder, but our AI can code much faster and much better at this point. And the way that it's going, it's only going to continue to grow.